Hello, welcome to NOLA Stamping. I'm Barb, and today we're going to continue our month-long exploration of a super fun technique. I love it when you can get just a little messy and do something that feels really artistic, but without having to be a seasoned artist. So we're going to take some vellum, and for this, you're going to need a piece of vellum that is 4 1/4 inch wide, and we're going to use that for the top of the card, so that that way we can use it and show off this technique. So go ahead and cut a piece of vellum that's 4 1/4 inches wide, and then I just scored it gently at 1/2 inch. And you do want to use a light touch, because otherwise the vellum tends to crack or break a little bit. So go ahead and score that at 1/2 inch. And then we will need, for this technique, another piece of vellum. I'm using a 2 3/4 inch circle. So we'll need to have a little piece where that will fit on there as well. So for the front, I'm going to go ahead and take that same piece that has the fold on it and mark 2 inches and 3 inches, just so then I know where it's going to be on the front. Okay, so let's dive into the technique. So I'm using a stamp set where we're going to use that circle for the moon. And what you do is you take alcohol markers and just scribble a whole bunch with them. So because it's the moon, I'm using mostly grays. So I'm just going to make a weird mess with the grays. And I did one darker and then one lighter, just because I wanted to see how they would come out, like with the different inks and stuff. So I did use the lighter gray on the top moon, and that worked out really perfectly. So this next part is you want to take rubbing alcohol, and I put my rubbing alcohol in a water brush. I picked this up from Christina, and it is a brilliant hack. You can put that rubbing alcohol in there just like it was a water brush, and then it makes it so much easier to do all sorts of things. So like I go through and soften up the edges of the different scribbles, and then I just splatter rubbing alcohol all over the place. So let's go ahead and do the top part of the card. And so again, I'm just using a really, really light gray for the top part. And this is just to bring in that same texture in a fun way. So I'm using the light gray and the dark light gray. And then I'm just splotching the rubbing alcohol all over that top part. And then we're just going to set these aside and let them dry for a little bit. So while we're doing that, let's go ahead and cut the card base. So we're going to need a piece that's 4 1/4 inches by 5 1/2 inch. So this is going to be a top fold card. So you'll be able to use the other side of the 8 1/2 inch cardstock for another card or something else. And so go ahead and trim that down to just a single sheet. And then we're going to take that dried piece and we're going to have that attached to the top. So we're going to need another piece of the basic beige. So that also needs to be 4 1/4 inches wide, but only about 4 inches tall. And then we're going to mark 1 inch down from the top. And then we're going to use that to use as the front cover for the card base. So speaking of the front cover, let's go ahead and cut some decorative paper for the front. We need a piece that's 4 inches wide, and I'm using the Painted Illusions February 2026 product of the month. It is $5 with a certain purchase. So it's a super great deal, and I really like the pattern and the designs. So this is a page of Lost Lagoon, and it's so like nice and soft, and it's got that nice look to it. So I'm gonna cut because I didn't want to measure and possibly get my angle wrong. So I took the front cover basic beige and just lined it up in the paper trimmer so that I got the angle just absolutely correct. Okay, so let's do some stamping. So I normally try not to use a stamp set that isn't automatically available. But this one is so perfect for this technique. The stamp set will be coming out very shortly, so I feel okay about it. It's called Fly Me to the Moon. And this technique makes like such great moon textures that it fits so perfectly together. So we're gonna cut out with a circle punch that love you to the moon and back sentiment. So I stamped it in basic gray and then black for the like love you to the moon part. And then we're gonna go ahead and use that same circle punch and cut out the two different moons. I end up not using one of them, but like I love how it came out. I tried so hard to figure out a way to use it, so I might put it on the envelope. So let's go ahead and stamp the interior of the card. So in the upper right hand corner, we're going to put that little spaceman and put the little satellite up in the other corner. And then I'm doing another sentiment from that same pack. And it reads, "You're out of this world." So we want to make sure that that's down a little bit so it doesn't show through the top. So I'm going to go back to that paper pack, and I'm cutting out, like, this is like a flowy, scripty sort of feeling paper. So we're going to go ahead and just cut along the lines for one of the blue sets so that it pulls in like all the same colors together. And I'm just going to use a tape runner and attach that blue quatrefoil pattern to the card front that's going to go like on the very front of the card. And you'll notice that I grabbed my liquid adhesive. I feel like the card is going to open and close a lot, so I wanted to have like a really strong adhesive for where we attach the vellum to the card base. So we're doing that 1/2 inch strip on the back of that card base, and then we're going to go ahead and use the liquid adhesive, and we're just going to attach that card front again using the liquid adhesive. And I'm trying to not get the adhesive too close to the edge, but all of the pieces that would be vellum are covered up by the way that the card is. So I really think this is a nice way to attach the card base together. So so here's that strip that we used for the that we cut out of the Painted Illusions paper. And I'm just using a ink dot with like the Pebbled Path ink on it to just go ahead and just make the edges a little bit darker, just so that they sort of show up a little bit more. And then I'm going to cut just a little piece of that off, and I'm going to scissor distress the edges. So that way, like, it'll just sort of pop up and give you a little bit of texture. So that way, like, that little moon part just sort of pops out of the bottom of the card. It's just a fun way to, like, incorporate the pattern paper and then also, like, our little stamping area. So I'm going to use the tape runner, and I'm going to go ahead and attach that to the corner. And I don't have to worry too much about like lining things up or like making sure the angle's correct, because I'm going to use Stampin' Dimensionals and attach that moon on top of it. and you won't be able to see the edges. So like that'll come out pretty perfectly. But you can already see our little spaceman, our little astronaut, through the front. So that's going to be perfect. So for the inside of the card, I wanted to clean it up a little bit so you don't see that edge part. So I just cut another piece that was 4¼ inches wide by about 4 inches. And I did the same thing with the angle, and that just covers up that messiness at the bottom. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab the darker moon, and I'm just using that as a shadow, just to cover up that the dimensionals. It's for the same reason. You totally don't have to, but I think it's kind of fun how you can see through the vellum at the top there. And then I am going to live dangerously. And there's a stamp in that stamp set that's like a bunch of different stars, and then like a heart and a star together. And I thought that it would be fun to pull in the sort of the space feeling on the pattern paper. So I am going to go ahead and use basic gray and just stamp and secondary stamp all over the front. And it's time to embellish. So I'm using 2 different embellishments. This is the Sparkle Dots Essentials, and the blue ties in perfectly. And you know, I don't know what it is about the universe, but it always makes me want to like add some sparkle and glitter. And I'm also going to use up some of my retiring stars. They're like a foam sticker with some sparkle in it, and they're in the last chance. So they are on their way out, but work perfectly with the universe again. And that is it. Well, I hope that you make this technique. I really love how it came out, and I can't wait to see your version. Don't forget to post what yours looks like on the Crafty Copycat Creations public Facebook group. And don't forget to stay crafty.